guys, it's Tuesday, 12 o'clock Central. I'm Tricia Turner. This is Anything But Average Achieving Success in Life. I'm with my friend Mary Murphy today, and we're going to bring you guys some success story. We're going to bring you some strategies, some pro tips, because we believe that we are better together. We believe that anybody can have certain levels of success. You just got to do the work and you have to be hungry. And the reason for this podcast, we're now launching into our third year consistently, almost every single Tuesday at 12 o'clock Central. And the reason that I started this was to bring positivity into the world, because this world is ugly and can be really mean. And I think if we focus on the good and the issue at hand is always trying to help people, then that's a better thing. And when in the real estate industry, our failure rate is high. I mean, we were just talking about it before we aired. It's between, nowadays it's between like 80 and 90% fail within their first 2 years. So when you look at these staggering statistics, it's our job, I believe, to get out there and help. So welcome, Mary. So glad you're here.
Thanks so much. And I'm glad that we're doing this. And, this is kind of part of what I love to do all the time. We say collaboration over a competition, right?
We do.
We all win together.
So we always like to start kind of giving you a little bit of backstory about where the guest is coming from. So Mary, I want you to tell everybody where you are in the world, what you do for a living, how long you've been doing it, and then we'll lead into kind of your success story.
Sounds great. So I am in South Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia, and I just hit 7 years licensed. So I got licensed in 2015. I now have, it's funny, I always talk about teams so much because I've almost always been part of a team. So when I started 7 years ago, after 6 weeks license, I joined a team. I was a part of 3 teams before starting my own. And now I have my own team, the Murphy Group. And I've been on my own for about the last 3.5 years.
Okay, so I love this because I'm a big believer in mega teams. If you look like the history of real estate, I mean, when you started 7 years ago, teams were around, but they weren't really like the thing. There were some small teams. There were some that were like killing it, but it wasn't like the thing. And nowadays it is. And I tell everybody, it's like when you look at the haves and the have-nots, that divide has gotten huge and it's dwindling away. Like that middle ground is pretty much gone. And you look, especially in our market, I'm here in Houston. So it's like when you look at the mega teams, they're the ones that are taking over. They're the ones that are doing all the transactions because they provide a better experience for the consumer, and they have the money to spend in marketing to get the consumers and then to market the properties. Are you guys seeing the same thing there in Jersey?
So I would say it's a mix. There's actually not a ton of mega teams. It's still more, there's some, and in Philadelphia there's more, but I wouldn't say it's the mega teams are dominant here. I would say that the ones that are mega are dominating the market, but it's not, most agents aren't part of a mega team. So
okay,
so teams, and there's still a lot of solo agents.
Okay. So let's go back 7 years when you started. We know how the failure rate is super high, and it always has been. It's just gotten even more so nowadays. For you, when you started as a solo agent, did you join a team right away, or did you try it on your own for this first couple of years?
So I joined a team after about 6 weeks. I didn't know to join a team, but I was a teacher before I was in real estate. I got into real estate full time, although it wasn't supposed to be full time at first, but I was a mom. I had 2 babies in daycare and I was teaching. And by the time I, paid for daycare, drove over the bridge every day and paid for my car to get fixed in South Philly because I was parking there getting hit all the time, I was just literally not making any money. And I was so unhappy. So I realized that I could, if I sold something that would make me enough money, I could just at least I could be home with my babies, right? So that was kind of the original goal. When I finished real estate school, though, my husband got laid off from his job. And so he decided to also go into business. So my job that was going to be part-time, I had more time to do it because we could kind of share the childcare and stuff. Yeah. So that was pretty much how I started. My first conversation with a RE/MAX broker, though, going on like the failure rate was I had come in there, a teacher, and he knew the failure rate. And RE/MAX, they're not always about hiring brand new agents, but I didn't know any other company. So I had clicked careers.com or careers at remax.com or whatever. And I met with this broker and he pretty much told me within the first couple of minutes that I probably wasn't going to make it. Right. Nice. So it was like, so it was really uplifting. But then I joined Keller Williams. That was where I first started. And I just understood I'm a team player. And I value doing what I love and putting myself in the strength zone. So when I started to understand that teams were a thing, I started to look into it, and it just made logical sense to me. Why wouldn't I join someone that was already successful, that already had a brand, that could already manage the back end, which I had no idea what to do with any of that, and I could just learn to sell. So that's really my journey with a team. So after about 6 weeks, I mean, I was the first one in the office every day. I was just watching everyone who was successful. And that's kind of how I found the path to a team. It wasn't intentional, but it just made sense. And from the very beginning, I was like, well, this just makes more sense to me. Why would I do all of this by myself?
And then did you continue to stay on, I think you said 3 different teams?
So I was on that team for the first like year and a half, and then they had their own stuff going on and the partners split up. And so I went off like a branch of that team. I went off on that one for a little bit, where I was allowed to list. I wasn't allowed to list on the first team. I was only a buyer's agent. Sold 37 buyers that year, my first year.
That's awesome.
But it was all buyers, right? And not that there's anything wrong with that. I wanted to figure out the other part of the business. So I was on that team. And then talking about mega teams, I joined a team as an expansion director. So not just mega, he was going to be mega, like across the country. And that was super exciting to me to build something so big. It didn't work out. It wasn't the right fit. The fit on a team, it's like the fit in a marriage, right? It has to be, you really have to fit. So it wasn't the right fit. And then after that is when I started my team. Now that my team has 18, we're about a team of 18 now.
Okay. So you were with Keller Williams all that time. And now you guys all know if you don't know, she's with us at EXP, which is freaking awesome. That's why I know her. How long have you been at EXP? And did you go straight from Keller Williams to EXP?
So 2 years, and I did. Yeah, I went straight from Keller Williams to EXP.
What was it? Because everyone always has usually a different answer. What was it you were needing something more? Were you unhappy where you were? Did someone bring it to your attention? What was it that made you switch?
So I think I was looking for more. So through all of it, I always believed in coaching. So I always had a coach. I went to every single event. I went to every mastermind. I read every book. Yep. So I'm really, really coachable. And I believe that there's people who have done this before me and that there's no reason for me to create the wheel, right? We all talk about that. So let me just figure out how to do this better. So I would say it was 2019, really mid 2018 is when I started to build my own team. I only knew that model. I knew no other model. Every piece of my coaching was all through that model. So when I got to the point where I was building my own team and it wasn't working exactly the way I envisioned it working, and the model wasn't exactly what I was envisioning either, that I started to look outside of it. And when I started to look outside of it, I started to find other people. Jay Kinder, who's my sponsor, was one of the ones that I found. And the conversations were just a little different after 2019 when I'd gone through 4 assistants that year. And
wow.
Yeah. So I was like, and it's not me. I just didn't really find the right. I was selling 70 houses a year. I was hiring someone to take all that on. I had no time to train them. I was not prepared, probably, to build the team the right way. So I was looking for more. And then I started to find people who were doing it at a higher level. And I just didn't know after 2019, I didn't know how I hadn't hit my goals. I didn't know how I was going to hit them in 2020 either. And I was feeling like I'd hit a ceiling. When I looked around me, there was no one there that had any sort of alignment they had no incentive to really help me. And I just didn't know who to turn to. And I've been in MAPS coaching at that point for 3 years. It wasn't the right fit anymore. I just started questioning everything and then finding new things. So I don't know if that's really how I ended up here. It wasn't for any other reason than just people
hungry for more, something different. And for me, it's totally the opposite but Jay Kinder was at the common denominator there. So I had my own brokerage open, and Jay and Michael Reese, they did an event here in Houston, and it was how to be the dominant listing agent in your market. And I was like, I'd never heard of these guys before, didn't know it, but I was like, I'm gonna go check it out. Went to their event, and I was like, I got to be part of these guys. And at that time, they had their own independent brokerage, and they had a coaching company, NAEA. And so I was like, I got to become part of that. And so that's how I met them. And so I had already been in their program for a year and a half when they switched over to EXP. And then I was like, what is all this about? Why are y'all doing that? And then it was just a few months later after that when they're like, Okay, Tricia, basically you have a blockbuster and you've got to look at this business model because you're stupid if you don't see this. It's like the Amazon of real estate. And I knew them already because I'd been in their program, so I trusted them. And I was like, these guys are not going to misguide me ever. And I'd be an idiot if I didn't go along with them because they're smart as crap, you
Right.
know? And
It's
then
funny.
look,
Yeah. And I didn't have that same level of trust because I had no idea who he was. I found him on Google and there was really no one in my market. But I was starting to look at EXP and honestly, and I hope I don't offend anyone, but when I had gone to my last KW event in August of 2019 and the EXP was such a topic at
oh,
that
I,
event. And I remember talking to one of the mega owners of the region. So when I was at those events, like I wasn't with my market center. I wasn't with people I already knew. I was always one to put myself in a spot where I could find, I was thirsty for knowledge. So I was always trying to see who was doing it bigger, who was better. So let me find out. So I was sitting down with this mega owner and I said, how do you get there? And he said, how do you become an early adopter of Google? And I was like, well, I mean, I can't, right? I can't be an early adopter of Google. And so then I started to really start researching and I thought like, who were the most successful in this company? Because Keller Williams still dominates my market. It's still more KW agents than anything else, although you're watching it change. When I came to EXP, there was only a couple of us. And now in my market, there's probably 4 of the top 10 are EXP.
I bet.
So that started making me look at it, but I didn't have that same trust. So I reached out to Jay and then I was kind of a bitch for like a year. I didn't really talk to him about it. He would tell me about the Amazon. I'm like, I don't really care about any of that. I just want to sell more houses. And so he would originally try and tell me that's not the only way. That's the only way. Don't talk to me about anything else. How did you sell 550 houses a year?
Right.
Tell me about that. So then that's kind of how our relationship built. Was he was like, all right, I'll talk to you about that. I'll talk to you about marketing. Because I was a prospector. Everything I did was for sale by owner, expired. I was just a hustler, but I never really marketed. Yeah. So that's kind of our start. And that's how I ended up here. And I never looked. It was scary, but I never looked back because I came over. And as soon as I came over, the world shut down.
Oh gosh, no kidding. Holy crap.
Yeah. So I came over and then it was I came over here all alone. It was me, my husband, and my assistant, Jen.
Yeah.
And I had never not worked in an office. But I was like, all right, I'll give this cloud-based brokerage a try and I'll open it. I knew that I could open an office. Jay's comment is always too, I think that's solvable. I'm like, okay, that's solvable. And yeah, then I came over and it was a couple of weeks later that we got locked down.
Okay, so now fast forward a little bit. Did you open an office? Do you have a brick and mortar?
I do. Yeah. So we came with 3 people. Now we're 60.
You have 60 people in your office?
Yeah, yeah. So they don't all work from here. Actually, a lot of them think they need an office. And then you're like, oh, let me get all this space. And then you're like, where is everybody? I don't know if you experience that.
So in your office, so we have a brick and mortar too, because we switched over and we just made it here and basically an EXP branch office, and then we have our team in here. So we have a training room. We do sales meetings every week. We do huddles. We do everything right here. And there's probably 6 of them here right now. So in your office, did you do an open workspace area, or is it confined in offices?
So we have 2 floors. So the downstairs is our training room, and then we have space for our downline. Actually, a couple of them even rent private offices downstairs from me. And then so that's the general area you can come work from. And then the upstairs is just my team.
Okay.
So Murphy Group
How
upstairs.
big is your space?
It's 3,000 square feet. So about 1,500 on each floor. It's actually, the space is not, we're probably going to switch spaces because the layout it's an old house. It's a cute old Victorian historical house on a busy road, but it's a bunch of little rooms, so it's not the most conducive, so we may switch, but yeah, there's a lot of space and people do. I think we probably have about 8 people in here right now.
So did you find that when you switched over to EXP, I'm very curious about this, that it changed the way that you think about things? It changed your conversations? Did it change your vision and your goals for the future?
I think it helped me see them clearer. I always had a vision of building a big business, of leading people. From the very beginning, I realized that I had found my passion and I was really good at it. And I knew that I could help people be better at it. So from the very first year, they were already asking me to teach classes. They were asking me to go to other market centers and train there. And I just loved it. But but it wasn't making me it didn't build my business. It wasn't really like helping me to build myself. So it didn't change my vision. It enhanced it. And I think that as you level up, the people you're surrounded by level up.
Yeah.
And you just start to think things are possible that you didn't realize.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know?
And that's one of the coolest things. Like for me, being just an independent broker, I didn't have anyone really to collaborate with, and everyone was a competitor. So I didn't really have anyone to collaborate with. So then when I met them and got into that world, it was like, oh, holy crap. And then we were going to events, their events. It was like, it opened up all kinds of relationships, and then it changed the conversations. And it was like, you get around people that are doing, 1,000 units a year, and you're like, well, holy crap, if they can do it, we can do it, because they're not doing anything different. They've just been at it a little bit longer. They got more systems in place. So it's like, it was never an envious thing at all. It was inspirational. It was like, wow, like you said, it is attainable. Like, we are going to do this. And then like you and I are just like, we're always in builder mode. So it's like, then once you hit that, it's like, okay, it's like, no, we're not done yet. Then we got to do this. And then we got to do this. And it's like, we're always looking for more.
Yes. I always said that. I'm like, I've never hit a goal in my life, because by the time I get to the goal that I set, it's changed so much. So I don't know if you've ever read the book, The Gap and the Gain. It's book. So that book really spoke to me. It probably did to you too, because I can never hit a goal. I'm never happy, because the second that I get close to it, I've doubled it.
Yep.
So now it's like, well, who cares about that one? Like that hurt. Like, I don't, selling 150 homes a year is really nothing. That I know people who sell that in a month. Right. So it's crazy. Right. So it's just, but here everyone's willing to share with you, and it's not the Cliff's Notes. It's literally like, Mary, don't do it that way. Do it this way. Use this system. This is what we're doing. We have this lead service. We have this CRM. And you're like, oh
yeah.
And it's just a game changer. Just changes the way you look at things.
For me, it's like I am goal oriented too, but I'm one of those types. Like I don't track things. I'm terrible. Like there's people that do track things that work here, but I'm not the tracker. That's not me. I don't like checklists. I don't like any of that stuff. I know I'm just always moving. I'm always in movement, and so I don't ever like to know like where our numbers are, because I know we're going to hit our goals. So I don't literally know. So I'm always amazed at the end of the year when I look at the number. I'm like, holy crap, I had no idea. It's like, because I just have that belief that if I see that we're going to be close, or if anyone else knows that we're close, people will let off the gas a little bit. And it's like, I always have 2 feet on the gas, so I don't want to know. And every year it's been more. I'm amazed myself every year with the things that we do. And it's like, I see the vision of everything that we're doing, like all the friendships that we've built within this company. I wouldn't have these without that. And I think that's like one of the biggest gifts ever. I love this.
Yeah, me too. And I think that it doesn't have to be company. So I think that when in this company, it's just our culture, right? And so we can talk about the revenue share model and whether people who are listening care about that or not. I know that I didn't. I did not care. I wasn't coming over for revenue share. I was part of a profit share company that made me like $2,800 my best year. Like, it wasn't like anything that was exciting to me.
No.
The stock, I didn't care about that either. I'm goal oriented, but I'm also I'm driven by units, by numbers, by volume, and I'm not driven by money. So for me, the money incentives didn't excite me.
Yep.
Now, what excites me though is that because there's incentivized leadership here, because we all grow together, when we build the company, we're all just this collaborative environment, and we'll just share with each other. Plus, we're not only collaborating locally, we're global. If I tell you a secret, you're never getting a listing that I wanted.
No.
Right? Like, we're in Houston, we're never going up against each other.
No.
But what I've realized locally is that if I give someone a secret, if one, you learn better by teaching anyway. So if I teach a strategy that I'm using, or if someone comes to me and they want me to help them with something, well, then I've got to freshen my knowledge on that anyway in order to teach someone else. So it only makes me better. And if I make them better to a point where they get a listing that I wanted, I'm not out of business tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I don't really care. It doesn't matter. I'd rather be willing to help people. So we've kind of created that on a local level too. So whether you're EXP or not, like, I'm just happy to make our industry better and collaborate, because we have to work together. It's not a solo industry.
No.
Right? There's 2 people on each side. We might as well be doing a good job, because it's a lot better for us all and for our reputation in the public if we're professional.
1,000%. And a lot of times, like these agents that are struggling out there, I mean, I think when you reach out and you help them, it helps them have a better life. Like we believe in building better lives. We build better agents by building better lives, you know? And so I think for you guys there, and especially in your market where y'all have more of like solo agents and smaller teams, I think that will eventually change for sure. And you being that voice of hope and help, I think it's super cool because most people aren't. It's rare to find it.
Right. It is. And it's kind of sad, you know, like I talk to agents sometimes and some of the stuff they're telling me or, you know, the way it is and they have no support because this can be a really lonely business too.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so if you don't find that support system and you don't invest in coaching or invest in yourselves and you're the leader that you join, because who knows, maybe they're the ones who helped you find your house. If they don't believe in that stuff, then that's part of the reason why I think the turnover rate is so high. It's because they just never learned how to do it the right way. And you only have so much time where you can, I mean, learn for free. Like if you're not, it takes a long time to get going.
So now you and your husband are both running the team, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes. So that was different. Right when we came over was when he joined me. So he's my operations person. So I'm all sales. He's all operations. Basically what happened was I started to tell a little bit about 2019 when I had gone through 4 assistants and I was a mess. The reason was I don't think I understood. Another book that I'll say I love is Rocket Fuel. If you've never read that, they talk about the integrator and the visionary.
Yes.
And I was looking for an integrator, and then I was trying to hire an integrator and not pay them enough and then make them print stuff for me. And it wasn't really working, right? Because the integrator is not your executive assistant. So that's kind of what was happening, was that I was hiring for the wrong role, hiring the wrong person in the wrong role. It just wasn't really working. So the end of 2019, I was frustrated. I was selling a ton. I was all listings almost. So my business was over 70% listings.
Nice.
I knew it is. It's nice, but then you know you're losing money.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because every listing should bring buyers. So if every listing brings buyers, you should at least be 50-50. And honestly, there's an argument that you should be 70 the other way. Because if you can get multiple buyers off of each listing, well, then how could you ever be listing heavy? So that was kind of what I was realizing was I was like, but I didn't have any time for buyers. I mean, I have barely worked a buyer in 3 years. But so it was the end of 2019 and my husband and I were in Jamaica and we were having a conversation by the pool. And I remember saying, like, you know how, and he was miserable at his corporate job, doing well. Brian has his MBA in accounting and finance. He was doing well, but he really wasn't happy. He wasn't growing. Right. He's an entrepreneurial mindset as well. And so the conversation was basically like, you know how when I want something to happen, like I'll be like, let's go to Jamaica. And then you just put all those pieces together and then we go. And I never even know what airline. Like,
I love that.
I'm like, can you do that in our business? Like, come do that with me.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay. So he literally came in to the mess that I had made on straight grit and lack of systems and systematized it all. And now we're a powerhouse. Like now we can just grow because now that was the gap that I really needed.
Oh, yeah.
And in the meantime, one of the agents on my team, so while I was going through these assistants, I also brought on buyer's agents. One of the agents on my team, who's my executive assistant, Jen, realized that she was also in the wrong seat. She didn't want to be an agent. Okay. So she's now our executive assistant. You can't bring your husband on.
No.
Call him your integrator and ask them to get you ready for a listing appointment.
No.
Right? That doesn't work. So she kind of came on and she's my executive assistant and my right hand. So between her and him and then me as the sales leader, and I still do listings. Okay. Now we can grow and we have a solid foundation. So now 2020 was just foundation building.
Okay. How many agents are actually on your team?
So now I think we have 14.
Okay.
But last year only 5.
Wow.
So we were built. So 2020 was the year of building the foundation. I didn't want any agents. I didn't hire really any agents till the end of 2020 because of understanding that I couldn't build on that. So I was like, I'm just going to build this. 2020 was a mess of a year anyway. So the 3 of us went to work on getting our systems in place and our strategy and our vision. 2021 last year is when we really started bringing agents on. And I had an average of about 5 agents on my team last year. And then over the past couple months has been really the last, like from December till now we're just on like a push to bring agents on. So we have 14, probably 6 more in the pipeline. Our goal is to have 30 on the team by June 30th and 50 by the end of the year.
Love that. So are all of them buyer's agents or do some do listings with you?
They can list. There's of course there's an abundance of buyer opportunity. So they do mainly buyers, but they absolutely can list, and we encourage them to, sell from their database. My team is never going to be, there's a lot of leads, but that's not what I want them to join me because of. I want to show them how to fish. At the same time, there is fish. So eat while you're learning, but also fish while you're eating. It's all the same, like
it is.
So that's kind of how it looks now. And they can absolutely list.
And so one other thing that I think is super cool that you do, I do as well here, but I have not done what you're doing to that degree. We do a lot of events here, but we do, they're mostly like real estate related. We do panels. I love to hear people's stories. Obviously, I love to interview people, but you have like this women's movement there. So I want to talk a little bit about that because I think that's super cool. And I want to do something like that here. So tell me what spawned that and how that started.
So, I noticed it's really funny is that all of my coaches, all of my leaders, my brokers, they've always been men. And I'm a pretty strong woman. So maybe that's partly the reason is that my personality is strong. But I felt like we needed to collaborate together as women and not compete against each other. That was part of it. The other part of it is I noticed that the people who were reaching out to me for help, for advice, for coaching were women.
Yep.
And I was like, and I was just noticing that they were having a lot of the same questions and they were coming from every other brokerage and not reaching out to me because they wanted to talk to me about EXP usually it was just like, Mary, how do I get out of working buyers? How do I hire my first assistant?
Yeah.
How do I do this? And I'm like, I'm having these conversations all the time. Let's just do this together. And so it started actually in 2020 with happy hours at my house.
Okay.
Because the restaurants were closed. So I did a couple like small yeah, you're in Texas. I'm in Jersey. You don't even know what it was like in Jersey.
I've heard though.
I'm like, you don't know. You weren't living the same life as me.
No, not at all.
Yes. So everything was shut down. So I started doing, and I have a beautiful backyard. So we can be outside because everyone was still very cautious. So I threw these happy hours outside. And they were such a hit. And I would have women reach out to me like, oh, invite me to the next one. And just the collaborative environment. So that was how it started. And then I did a couple events with other men from EXP and we did them. And it just like, I didn't feel connected to that. It's just, I don't know why. So then all of a sudden it was really just like, let's just do a women's mastermind. We're going to have wine, we're going to have food, and we're just going to talk. So the first couple, I set them up like The View. So it was me and 3 other agents from different companies. Yeah. And we just sat up there and we're like, we're just going to go back. Like I kind of moderated, but it was more like a view setting where the 4 of us sat there and we chatted and we would talk about our lead systems and our agents and how we encourage production and what our first year was like. And I just got an overwhelming response after each one. And then I was also getting people reaching out to me from other areas like, hey, Mary, can you help me throw one like that here? Let's throw one down here at the shore. Come throw one with me in Philly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what started happening. The last one I did as a panels. So like you said, and I did then all different companies. This is the whole motto is collaboration over competition. We have to work together anyway. We might as well like each other. Like that's literally how I feel. And then if I connect with people, they want to come over with me. Of course, I'm wanting more people to be with me over here. But if not, we're friends anyway. Doesn't matter. So the last one, it was 2 panels. One was, I called it the newer producers. So it was 3 years less, licensed 3 years or less that were just crushed 2021, 5 million or more. Actually, I think most were closer to that, like 7 to 10 million. Yep. And we're in like a 300,000 average sales price. Mm-hmm. So that was the first panel. The second was the veteran agent panel. And it was just I think having the newer agent panel is refreshing or encouraging for a newer agent who maybe hasn't hit the ground running the same way.
Yeah.
And then the veterans talked about their first year and going through the different shifts in the market. So it was really great. We had about 80 people there and all different companies, everybody like Berkshire Hathaway, Remax, Keller Williams, doesn't matter. So that was really kind of the way it started. And we'll do another one. I'm actually going to do another one that's not just women. Cause it's funny. The men keep reaching out, asking me why they're not included. Like, cause there's not a lot of them. Well, they're not like, what are they going to do? Smoke cigars and play golf.
Right. So how many women are you averaging about?
Averaging at the events. So so it started at my house with like 10.
Yep.
And the last one was 80.
That's
And I think the next one will be even bigger than that because they're really just starting to get noticed and they're just
yeah.
fun. And it's really just a collaborative environment where you can just feel comfortable asking questions and having struggles. We all do.
And so how long is the event? Does it go on all day?
So we did the last one from 9:30 to 2, and we
Okay.
stayed right on time. So 9:30, everyone comes in, they register, they get to mingle a little bit, and we started like around 10.
Okay.
And then it was a panel. Then there's a lunch in the middle, so because people want to be able to talk to each other too.
Oh, yes.
So we had like a collaborative lunch, and then the second panel, it was over right at 2, and it was the perfect amount of time.
So did you find, or are you finding that women are building relationships and friendships from these events that you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're building it, and my agents are building them together because they get to sit down and kind of talk about it. So I just think that, and it's Tricia, you and I are always putting ourselves in rooms like that. And I thought about, I find it so surprising when an agent tells me they can't make it or they wish they could come, but they have an inspection. And I know how much they've sold and how badly they need it. And I want to say, like, do you have any idea how many times I got on an airplane this year? Like, just
Right.
you should be in this room.
Yes.
I know how many houses you're selling. It's nowhere near the amount that I'm selling, and I'm on a plane constantly because that's how I'm getting to the level that I'm getting to. So make time to work on your business and not just in it, or is it in it and then I don't know. Either way,
Yeah.
train. You need to. So it's crazy to me.
I think the events are game changers, and I agree with you 1000%. So we were on at events every month last year. So we were on a plane every month, anywhere, somewhere, anywhere. And then you found like when there was a lull, like a 2 week lull, or even 3 weeks, it's like just I'm itching to go. Like I got to go. Like I'm needing that. I'm needing to be fed. I need to learn more. And then here locally, it was like the same thing. People don't attend the events. They think they're too busy. They think it's too expensive. They don't have the money. They don't have, it's like, do you realize how much it's going to change your life? And I think because we go and get in these rooms, I think, and I tell people this all the time, I believe, and when you study stuff, it shows that 5% of the world are leaders and 95% are followers. And so when you find the 5%ers, you want to be around them more. And that's what you find when you go to the events like we go to, they're the 5%ers. So it's like naturally we gravitate to each other and we want to hang out more. And like, oh, you're going to that event? Oh, I'm going to that event. So it's like the coolest thing ever. And I think then it's our job then to come back and bring that back to the 95%ers, because how else are they going to get it? They're not going to go.
Right. So then at least come into this room in the afternoon one day, right? Because you can it's fine if that's not your passion, if you don't feel fed by that, because it feeds my soul. I need it. Like I actually need it. And when you get to a certain level, you can't get it locally anymore. You have to get on a plane because there just isn't, you have to, there's not a choice. But if you're not at that level yet, then you should at least be getting next to those of us who have gotten in those rooms and who can give that back to you. Because here's the one thing about that 5%, that 5% are givers too.
Mm-hmm.
Like we want to give it back because getting it feeds our soul and giving it back feeds it even more. So it's just the way we are. So I just love it. And I can't ever not. We go away about once a month too. And I have little kids. People are like, how do you leave your kids? I'm like, because I have to, because it's for them.
It will help them have a better life. It's like I told somebody yesterday, I don't even remember where we were, but I was like, I want to change the world, and I can't change the world by myself, but I can change as much as I can. I can work at it every single day and make sure, like I went through a bad divorce and I was a single mom with 3 little kids and I didn't have a choice. I didn't have anybody that was there helping me. I didn't have anybody that was showing, and I was at Keller Williams too. And it was like, I didn't have anybody saying, here, do this, here, use this, here, say this. I didn't have any of that. And here it was real clicky. There really weren't teams. There might be like 2 on a team, but it wasn't a thing. Instead, it was like clicks. And if you didn't get in with the click, then you weren't in and nobody was helping you. And maybe there was 300 or 400 agents at that office, but maybe only 10 of them were actually selling homes. And they surely weren't going to share what they were doing because they had the market share. So it was like, you had to figure it out. And so I did. I just did the work. And I grinded every single day, and my kids have never wanted for anything ever. And I'm very, very blessed. But part of why I opened a brokerage and wanted to build and do more and be more is because I didn't want anyone to go through what I went through. And then finding you guys all and being with EXP, it's like, now it's a no-brainer. I'm like, how do you not want to be part of something that's changing lives? That's what we're
Right.
doing. Okay.
We're also givers. And you know what's so funny is when you talk about the clicks, as a person who's a natural 5%er, I'm going to keep talking that. I love how you brought that up. You're not welcomed with open arms by those who don't want to grow. In fact, your growth mindset threatens them.
Oh yeah.
And so they push you away.
Yep.
And that was kind of where I was feeling like I'd hit a ceiling. I'm like, the only people doing more than me here have been doing it for 30 years. And I know that I'm not going to do Popeyes for the next 30 years because that's it. So like, what do I do? Like, I know that calling FSBOs isn't the only way either. Like, what do? I couldn't figure it out. And then like, what's funny about it here is that if you have your own independent, fine, you can kind of create the culture. Then you're going to attract your own people, but
Yep.
you're also your own ceiling.
Yes.
And you have so much else you have to worry about with liability and, you know, and all that stuff. I'm like, nope, I don't want to do that. I feel like this is the perfect balance because I do have my own space. I do have my own group. And I'm finding the people like, you know, helping the people that I'm looking, like we're just connected. Right. And I'm outside of that office environment where those clicks would be.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, I don't have all the responsibility or being the ceiling either.
No.
I'm not even close to the ceiling. I mean, look at the people we are aligned with here.
Right. Like when I was in because you have this vision, you know, like when you're going to open your own office, it's like, it's always going to look like this. I'm going to do this. A year and a half into that, I was like, oh, and I had 50 agents super quick. And I was like, I didn't sign on for this. And I was, again, having to fund everything because I was in production. So it was like, I'm basically working my ass off so I can fund this whole office. This is stupid, and have all the responsibility and have everybody asking me. And it was like, I was miserable, you know. And when Michael Reese was like, here's what I know. And he was like, he just laid it all out. And he's such a problem solver and he's so deep. And I've learned so much from him. But he's like, you're going to continue doing this. And it's all transactional. It's like on this treadmill. There's no way off of this. I mean, you need to look at the future. And before I met them, I had plans and I had goals, but I didn't have it all mapped out. Like I didn't map out 10 years. I mean, I had a year, 3, maybe 5 planned, but 10, no. And so then when you get around them, they're like, this is what your 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, this is what 10 years looks like. Then it was like a whole different mentality. I'm like, well, hold on a second. I don't want to be going on a listing appointment in 10 years. What am I thinking? You know, and people that do, that's great. And I mean, it's everybody has, you know, has their own things. For me, that was not something I wanted in my vision, but I didn't know. You don't know what you don't know.
Because sometimes you don't think like, well, do I want to be doing that in 10 years? Like that's working now. And it's very lucrative and we're blessed to be in an industry that is such a good business for us. But at the same time, I was realizing that too. And what I realized was that what I loved was not what I could do for my financial well-being. Like I loved, like every time I was asked to teach a class, like I wanted to do that. Well, like if I was saying yes to that, I was saying no to prospecting. I was saying no to going on a listing appointment. I was saying no to things. So that was becoming a hobby.
Yep.
And I wanted to be able to lead. And I realized that I didn't want to be listing homes. Like I had already gotten out of buyers and now I'll be out of listings in the next, by the end of the year, most likely for the most part, I'll be out. Yeah. And why? Not because I don't love sellers and I don't love helping them. I do, because I can help more people by helping other leaders and by helping agents then go out and help them. And I know that, and you too, right? I know that I have the experience now and I have the talent and the education, because we spend a lot of money on our education, right?
Oh gosh, yes.
It's not free education. Like
it's more expensive than college. Way more.
It really is. So the amount of money we spend on that education, we can then give back, and that's going to then in turn help more people. And that's what I want to do. And it sounds like that's what you want to do too. So I'll be out of even doing the listings by the end of the year. I'm starting to train people.
I think it's the best thing because you're great at what you do at leading others and leading women. And again, it's that 95%. When you look at the numbers, that's a lot of people that need hope. And there's not a lot of people that are willing to give hope and willing to put in the time and the energy that it takes to help people. You know, another thing about Michael Reese, one thing that he said, and because it's not about the money, it's never about the money if it's the right people. It's like the more money that you make, the more people that you can help. And there's this old saying that says you can take a good person, and if you give them money, they just become a better person because they want to bless others. You can take a bad person and you can give them money, and it doesn't make them a good person. It usually makes them go the other way, and they're bad. They just have a lot of money then. So I think when you reach people at their core and they really have good intentions like you do, and they really do want to make a difference in the world, the money follows. It just comes. It's never
does.
about
So my favorite quote, it used to be on my wall at my old office. So my favorite quote is Zig Ziglar, and you guys will all know it, but it's just, you can get everything in this world that you want as long as you help enough others get what they want. And we talk about that so much on my team. We're always putting the clients first. And I tell them all the time, make sure that you have a strong pipeline so that you're never dependent on a commission check. Because if you're depending on that commission check, then in some way you're going to make that about you. And it can never be about you. It always has to be about them. And when it's about them, then they sell their house when they're ready. They buy the right house for them, and you are their advocate and their friend through it. And when it's about you, then you're giving bad advice. And we work with agents sometimes where you can feel that it's about them.
Oh, yeah.
And when I feel that it's about them and I'm working for my client, their client loses. Because now everybody's working for my client. They're working for my client because they wanted to close. I'm working for my client, and my client is working. And the only person losing in that scenario is their client. So for us, we always have to make it about, it's always about someone else, and it's about our team together. So our core values are, live big, win together, and change lives. And we say that all the time. So we want to live a big life and we want to win together. So it's not, I never would ever want to see my agents competing with each other.
No.
And they don't.
No.
They literally don't. Like, if someone gets tagged for a referral on social media, like, they're all tagging that person. Like, yeah, talk to Dana. She's amazing. Like, that's the way it looks. And that's the way I want it to look. And then change lives. That's buyers, sellers. That's other agents. It's not about us first. And then you can have everything in the world that you want. You end up getting your dreams just as a result of doing it that way. And I believe that at my core. And so that's the people that I attract. And I'm sure it's the same way for you, right?
It is, yeah.
Like
everything you just said, like I literally in our sales meeting yesterday talked about that very thing, about the commission check, the exact thing, and about being friends over money, word for word almost. And then same thing, better together is we hashtag it here, and we do events here in Texas, and we even have a website. It's Better Together Live, and we collaborate with other people, other leaders in EXP, and they're not even, we have no financial tie to them whatsoever. We just have kindred spirits. We believe the same beliefs, and so we just want to go out there and change the world. And it's like, we want to do it together, because you can't do this by yourself. We can't do this by ourselves.
No, it's just an abundance mindset.
It is.
And you feel better, you live better when you come from that abundance. And when you come from scarcity, that's why it's always have your pipeline full, always have, 3 months of expenses if you can aside, always have that there so that you're never in that scarcity position, so that you can always lead that life in an abundance mindset. So that you can put others' needs first. When you are waiting for that check to close because you want to pay your mortgage payment, and we may have all been there. I've been there. Then it's so important to you that when you hear it's about to get pushed back, it's very stressful. We don't make money until these houses close, and it takes 45, 60 days. And sometimes it falls apart last minute. And like, if you already spent that 10 grand, that hurts. That's a problem. So don't spend it until you have it.
Yes, but you do. I've done it. And I'm like, oh, wow, now I'm in the hole.
And that's how we can teach people not to do that, right? So that's where I know that I can give back. I've been there. I've been to the point where I wasn't expecting that tax bill.
Yes, me too.
Right? We got to pay our taxes, guys.
Yeah.
And it's when you're like, oh my goodness, that's gone. That was never your money.
No.
So we have to talk about, those are the kind of hard conversations that we're able to have, and we can come from experience and love and never from judgment. It's like, I did that. Don't do that. Mm-hmm. So if I can collapse time for them, it's just, that's where I want to be. That's why I want to stop lifting, because I know that my time is better spent doing this.
Yep. you're educating, because here's who's going to see this: a bunch of real estate agents who are watching it right now because it's live, and then it's of course going to be on YouTube, it's going to be on LinkedIn, it's going to be on Facebook, it's going to be on IGTV, it'll be everywhere because people need help. And there's going to be, even if that one person watches this and takes away something that helps change their life, or they reach out to you and then their life changes, then we've served a purpose, period. And I believe that we always do.
100%. And then you and I are going to cross paths, I think, next month, right?
Oh, we are. Yes, we are.
I'm like, we're in Florida together next month, which who knew you had to take a plane and rent a car and then where are we going?
Yeah. And then I think we're together in May again as well. Because aren't you going to Spear Rocket in May?
Yep, I'm going. Yep. I'm not going to Cabo. Though. Are you going to Cabo?
We're not. Isn't that crazy?
So I'm strategic, and I'm sure you are too. I'm very strategic with where I go because we could literally go. We're at a cloud-based brokerage, but I could see you people more than anything else between all the different events and everything that's thrown. I mean, we're together more than anything. People be like, I used to say it. I used to say today, I'm not into being an avatar at WeWork. He's like, one, it's Regis. Two, you're not an avatar. That's just how you get your information. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, the connections I've made across the country and the amount that I can't wait to see you guys. But you have to be strategic because we could go away every day.
All the time.
I can't go to Cabo and I'm going to have to shut my Facebook off for a couple of days while they're all there while I have FOMO.
I know. Okay, so I'm curious to know, why didn't you go?
Why not Cabo? Because I felt that I went to build. And I think it'll be very similar. And also what I've noticed for me at this level is that I don't always want to go to a general mastermind. It needs to be specific because I'm only going to better. I'm not going for entertainment.
Yep.
I'm not going to hang out. I'm going because I'm trying to better myself and my business and the environment for my agents and my family. Yep. So I can't just go to something general, although I know that's going to be a very valuable event. It wasn't the right one for me to choose. That's why.
Because we had the other one where it's going to be more in depth and it's going to be more intimate and it's going to be like we can ask questions and it's going to be like serious deep dive.
Yes, it's not surface level. So I think that event is it's a great event and a lot of people are going to get a lot out of it. For us at the level we are in and the amount of masterminds we go to, even just weekly. I mean, I'm on multiple Zoom masterminds a week. So it's so that was why. So I'm going to Person of Interest and Sphere Rocket because we are very into our VAs and because of the people that will be at that event.
Yep, us too. Same. I love that.
Yeah, so we're on the same path, girl. We're going to be together a lot.
Oh, we are.
Will, who's my Brian.
Right. So it'll be fine.
I know. The four of us are going to have to get together for sure.
Oh, definitely. Okay, so before we end, I always like for people to give tips because, again, this is geared to help real estate agents. So if you're talking to either a new, seasoned agent, whatever you think, what are 3 things you would tell them to help them grow their business in 2022?
So this is a business, right? This is a business. You have to work on it every day. You do have to have goals and be willing to put the work in. I mean, everything works as long as you work it, but you have to give it time and you have to talk to people. So the one thing I would say is you have to treat it like a business. You've got to follow a schedule from the very beginning. Focus on your mindset and your education. No matter what kind of work you're putting in, if you're not doing it in the right mindset, it won't work. I remember prospecting, and on the days that I would prospect when I was just in a bad mood, when I just didn't want to do it, I wouldn't get results. So what I had to do was I had to go through, I used to call it my win reel. I would go through the win reel in my head. Remember when you didn't want to do it and you called that one FSBO and they had to sell and buy, and they did that. It happened on a Thursday, and by the end of the week you were under contract on 2 houses. Those are the kind of things I had to do. So you have to go into it with a positive mindset. So be listening to podcasts like this, listening to books and reaching out to people. So 1, you have to work. 2, positive mindset. 3, it's not transactional. Make sure you're loving on your people, your agents and your clients, because that's what's going to help you grow. So that's it.
I love that. So true. And take it from Mary, because she's built an amazing business and she's all in. She's not one that's just sitting on the sidelines. She is leading by example. She's pouring into her people. She's involved in her business. You hear her, she's doing everything she can to be the best version of herself. I love that.
It's awesome. So thanks for having me on here. It was so fun.
Gosh. Hey, Mary, how can people find you if they want to engage with you?
So you can find me on social media. You can, just Google me, Mary Murphy, EXP Realty, and you will find me. You can
There's a
text
Murphy
me.
group.
The Murphy group. In
Love
Jersey.
it.
I'm in New Jersey. So yeah, just reach out. I'm here.
Thank you for
All right.
being here, Mary.
Thank you so much.
You guys have a great day.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.